Thank you for joining us for CFP Board's Business Update webinar. I am Richard Salmen, your host today. For those who may not know me, I am a CFP professional who is a partner at an independent trust company in Overland Park, Kansas, a suburb of Kansas City. During 2009, I served as the national president of the Financial Planning Association. Today, we're broadcasting live from Chicago, where CFP Board's Board of Directors just finished up its second in-person meeting of the year. During today's webinar, we'll hear about CFP Board's recent activities, including updates on CFP Board's work with the Financial Planning Coalition. We will spend some time on CFP Board's activities to bolster the competency standards for the CFP certification, which involves 3 of the 4 E's: education, examination, and experience. And we will get the latest updates on CFP Board's first large-scale national public awareness campaign to increase awareness of the CFP certification, which was launched this past April. Many of you have submitted questions, and we will try to get to all of those during today's program. During today's webinar, if you experience issues with the audio for this presentation, or if it appears that the slides displayed don't match up with what we're speaking about, try refreshing your webinar console by pressing F5 if you're on a PC keyboard, or if you're using a Mac, Command R. And if you're on Twitter and want to post about today's event, use hashtag #CFPBoard BUW, or Business Update Webinar. Please use the question and answer function on your screen to ask questions of our panelists. You may submit your question at any time during this program. We will try to address as many questions as possible during a Q&A session at the end of the program. If the panel does not get to your question today during the broadcast, CFP Board will follow up to provide you an answer. So, let's get started. Joining us today are 2011 Chair of CFP Board's Board of Directors, Chuck Moran, 2011 Chair-elect of CFP Board's Board of Directors, Alan Goldfarb, and CFP Board CEO, Kevin Keller. Welcome to all 3 of our guests. Chuck, you just finished up the latest meeting of the Board of Directors, which I'm sure covered a lot of ground. What updates on CFP Board's recent activities would you like to highlight today?
Richard, we did have much to review and discuss at this week's board meeting, but first some breaking news from the board meeting. The CFP Board has named as the 2012 Chair-elect, or the 2013 Chair, Nancy Kistner, who's a CFP professional and Managing Director and Wealth Planning Solutions Market Director for the U.S. Trust Group of Bank of America. We're very pleased to have her join the leadership team here. On the screen is an image that we call CFP Board's House, our strategic plan for the next few years. One of the things that you might notice that it's simple enough so that we all carry this around in our head, if not in our pockets. Let me first touch on some activities related to our public advocacy objective, which is to influence policy to benefit the public and increase access for all to competent and ethical financial planning. A significant amount of our work in the public advocacy area continues to benefit from collaboration with our Financial Planning Coalition partners, FPA and NAFA. We all share a vision of a recognized and regulated financial planning profession, and as we work toward that long-term goal, we are busy with related issues that affect CFP professionals, all of you, and their clients. CFP Board and the Coalition continue to work on issues related to Dodd-Frank legislation, especially the 3 studies you see referenced on the slide that directly impact the profession. A big focus of our work over the past several years has been on highlighting the importance of a fiduciary standard for investors who receive personalized financial advice. As part of Section 913 of the Dodd-Frank legislation, the SEC was directed to conduct a study regarding establishing a uniform fiduciary standard for investment advisors and broker-dealer representatives who provide investment advice to retail customers. The legislation also authorized the SEC to move forward with rulemaking to establish a uniform fiduciary standard for broker-dealers. The SEC completed this study on a uniform fiduciary standard early this year, and expectations are that it will begin the rulemaking process to establish that uniform standard later in this year. It's no secret that there are segments in the financial services industry that aren't excited about the prospect of a uniform fiduciary standard. To help demonstrate to the SEC that the financial planning community strongly supports the move toward a uniform fiduciary standard, the coalition released an online petition this April. More than 5,200 individuals have signed so far, and you're certainly welcome to add your name if you haven't already. And we delivered those signatures to the SEC and congressional leaders only a few years ago.
And you know, Richard, we really do appreciate everyone who took time to sign the coalition's petition. From our conversations with the SEC staff and leadership, we know that they are hearing frequently from groups and individuals who are opposed to a fiduciary standard or who want a watered-down standard. Our petition is a very strong message in support of a bona fide fiduciary standard, and it reflects the financial planning profession's dedication to the interests of consumers.
Kevin, I know that petition's already been delivered to the SEC, but can people still sign it?
You know, absolutely. The petition is still available, and we encourage those of you who haven't had a chance to sign it to do so. It only takes a few clicks.
Different elements of the Dodd-Frank legislation continue to be hot topics for the profession. What other policy issues is CFP Board monitoring?
Well, actually, there are a number of issues that the Board has weighed in on during the recent months. For example, in February, we sent comments to the Department of Labor regarding their proposal to modify the definition of a fiduciary, at least for ERISA purposes. In the Board's letter, we expressed support of their proposal to expand fiduciary projections and protections. However, we also expressed concerns regarding the possibility of unintended consequences. We're watching the issue closely, especially for its potential impact on the SEC's fiduciary rulemaking under the 914 section of Dodd-Frank. Additionally, last month we responded to an SEC request for comments on the state of investor education. Our comments emphasized that investor education needs to be greatly improved and should incorporate the value of comprehensive financial planning. We continue our engagement with the IRS on issues surrounding the development of regulation around the program for paid tax preparers. Last week, for example, we provided a letter with information about the process that the CFP Board uses for developing the CFP Certification Exam in hopes that the IRS might use that as a guideline in their preparation.
One of our audience members asked about the status of discussions with the IRS to exempt CFP professionals from testing of tax preparers. Can you give us an update of where that's at?
We sure can. You know, the IRS has proposed exemptions from the tax preparer registration, competency, testing, and continuing education requirements for attorneys, CPAs, and enrolled agents. I see, Richard, looking at your business card, you would be exempt under the enrolled agent exemption. We've requested a similar exemption for CFP professionals on several occasions now, based on the education and assessment of income tax planning knowledge that is part of the CFP certification process. Unfortunately, to date, the IRS has not granted our request. We will continue to have those discussions with the IRS. I think importantly also is the fact, Richard, that the IRS has really has looked to CFP Board as they begin to prepare their competency examinations, and our testing and examination people have been playing a resource role with the IRS as they begin to prepare that exam. So we're hopeful that we can work out an exemption. I would encourage you to take a look at the range of our public advocacy activities by visiting our website at www.cfp.net/advocacy. There's one more important development related to CFP Board's enforcement process that I'm happy to share. In March, we received a no-action letter from the SEC that essentially states that an investment advisor or broker-dealer firm can provide CFP Board with customer complaint information.
Alan, a few years ago, you chaired CFP Board's Board of Professional Review, which is now known as the Disciplinary and Ethics Commission. How does this SEC no-action letter affect the work of the Commission and the CFP professionals whose conduct is reviewed by the Commission?
Well, actually, the no-action letter really benefits everyone, both the CFP professionals the people brought in front of the commission, as well as the staff, enabling them to do their job better. For those of you out there that have volunteered on CFP Board hearing panels, in the past it's been frustrating not to have the information that would be helpful to get to the bottom of the customer's allegations. In most cases, the CFP professional was unable to provide pertinent information or documentation due to the guidance from his or her firm's compliance department. And they've often made reference to that SP designation. With this new guideline from the SEC, broker-dealers and registered investment advisors are now in a position where they can better assist the CFP Board in our investigations by providing the evidence that will give a clear picture of the facts at issue. And that will allow the Disciplinary and Ethics Commission to make decisions taking into account all facts, enhancing the fairness of the process, both for the CFP professional and the public, where the end result hopefully will be investigations will take less time and can also be expected to provide a significant reduction in the number of cases because they'll be dismissed for lack of evidence.
And it's an issue both for CFP professionals and those people who are candidates who want to become CFP professionals. This will allow us to hopefully clear their cases quicker. Since we received a letter from the SEC, Michael Shaw, who is our Managing Director of Professional Standards and Legal, has been in touch with the legal and compliance staff of a number of firms that employ CFP professionals to discuss the letter and its implications. We've already seen benefits from the letter as more CFP professionals have been able to provide information important to our investigations. And the letter also reflects highly on, I think, the purpose and structure of CFP Board's enforcement process. And the many CFP professionals like Alan, and I'm sure many of the people listening here, who have volunteered to support that process over the years.
The ethics and enforcement components of the CFP certification really do help distinguish it from many other financial credentials. I know there are also a number of activities underway related to competency standards. Chuck, can you share what the term competency means at CFP Board and what activities it covers?
Well, going back to our house image, which is our cornerstone, you'll see that our competency objective is to establish and uphold rigorous competency standards for CFP certification. Don't be misled by the conciseness of that statement. When you think about the 4 E's of the CFP certification requirements, competency covers 3 out of the 4: education, examination, and experience. All of you have plowed through that. And going forward, the quality of that and the recognition of that quality is very important to us. The education covers both the foundation education that people must complete before attaining CFP certification, as well as the continuing education required to retain that certification.
Chuck, as I look at our attendee list today, it looks like a good majority of our audience consists of current CFP professionals for whom continuing education is obviously an ongoing requirement. Please share any current or upcoming initiatives related to CE that CFP professionals should be aware of.
I think the starting point on that is that our intent is to make this of more value to our certificants, and if it doesn't seem that way, you should be talking to us because that's clearly our intent. Continuing education may not be everyone's favorite topic, but it is essential to the value of the CFP certification. We consider continuing education to be a form of recertification. We have had quite a lot of activity with regard to our continuing education standards in recent years. Most of that has involved working with continuing education providers to ensure that the CE programs available to CFP professionals reflect CFP Board's standards for continuing education. Beginning last year, all CE sponsors and programs are registered with CFP Board on an annual basis. In the past, that registration was good for several years. The annual registration process helps ensure that programs registered with CFP Board are current in content, and it allows us to better review programs to ensure their compliance with continuing education standards. CFP Board has 3 established processes for reviewing CE programs. First, there's an essential review an initial review when we receive a registration application. Second, we also have a review process whereby a percentage are selected randomly for a more detailed review. And finally, when we receive complaints about a particular CE program from CFP professionals, we also conduct a detailed review and investigation. When we find a program falls short of CFP Board standards, CFP Board works with the provider to resolve those deficiencies where possible. If deficiencies aren't resolved, we will remove the program from our list of accepted programs. So if you attend a program that you believe CFP Board should not accept for CE credit, please don't hesitate to contact CFP Board with your concerns. One type of CFP program that we have heard quite a lot of feedback from CFP professionals about is the CFP Board Ethics CE program. We recently announced updates to the requirements for those programs that we hope will address some of the concerns that have been raised. On March 31 of this year, CFP Board shared with CE providers some new requirements for CFP Board Ethics CE programs that will take effect in October of this year. The existing requirements for those programs stipulate that the course provide a detailed review of some aspect or aspects plural of CFP Board's ethical standards, exclusively for the required 2 hours. That content requirement remains unchanged.
Chuck, I want to interrupt here for a minute because this is an issue. I know that there have been a lot of questions. I'm on the road a good bit. You've been out with me, and this issue comes up. Again, these are not new requirements, but we are taking a closer look at them because it's really our objective to keep people out of the disciplinary process. And that's why we've been taking a closer look and making sure that the Ethics CE courses focus exclusively for that 2-hour time frame. Now, we have some providers who want to go into additional information, and they can do that, but it's got to be appended on the end. And so I just want to clear that up because it does. I do get a lot of questions about it in the office.
One of our major objectives is that whatever is going on at CFP Board, that the CFP certificants are fully aware of this. So the effort to make sure that there is as much information out there about our ethical standards and their application to the certificants is high on our list of importance. These updated requirements for the programs include new and specific learning objectives, including those that you have seen on the screen. CFP Board Ethics C programs will still be able to address issues related to CFP Board ethics in addition to those outlined in the learning objectives, but we want to make sure the learning objectives are met. These new learning objectives address fundamental and practical elements of CFP Board's standards of professional conduct, and we believe CFP professionals will benefit from receiving instruction on them. And we will be reviewing and updating the learning objectives periodically. This is not a static environment, as you all know. The new requirements also include new instructor eligibility, requirements designed to ensure that the instructor has experience and a strong understanding of CFP Board's ethical standards. All CFP Board Ethics CE programs offered in or after October 2011 will be required to meet these new requirements.
And as you take a CFP Board Ethics CE course after the new requirements take effect in October, we would love to have your feedback. We really went to the Disciplinary and Ethics Commission. We looked at the most frequently occurring violations of our ethical standards, and that's how we wrote the new learning objectives were based on those most frequently occurring violations.
Speaking of changes, gentlemen, one of the other suggestions that I hear now and again is that CFP Board needs to increase the 30-hour CE requirement for CFP professionals. Is that something that CFP Board is considering?
Well, the issue comes up to the CFP Board really quite frequently, and there are good arguments on both sides. At this time, however, there is no plan to increase the 30-hour requirement, but, however, increasing the number of classroom hours that will be required for those seeking certification is part of the reason why we've come up with this Capstone class. In addition to many of the courses that we've taken in completing it, aspiring professionals will need to complete this brand new course that's being adopted and developed in March of 2010. It was approved, but it will be effective on January of 2012. All registered programs would have to participate in this type of course. The purpose is really to require prospective professionals to demonstrate their ability to integrate and apply their knowledge of the planning topics through the development and communication of a financial plan. I mean, it's not enough to know it, it's enough to put it in a practical use that you can actually use it. We're one of the few professions that don't require our own people to go through the same processes that other professions do. So students who take the program beginning in January 2012 or later will be required to take the new course before they're eligible to sit for the exam. The requirement also affects those who hold one of the credentials that are allowed to be challenged. If you're challenging an exam, then likewise CHFC, CLU, CFA, as well as attorneys and CPAs would also be required, if they sit for and challenge the exam after that date, they'd be required to take that Capstone class as well. So if you have a colleague with one of the challenge credentials or other people that are pursuing the certification, you may want to encourage them to take the November 2011 exam before this new ruling comes into effect.
The course sounds like something that will benefit not only the student, but their current or prospective clients and employers as well. That brings to mind a couple of questions. Will the courses at each registered program be nearly identical? And what requirements has CFP Board set up for these new courses?
Well, for those of you involved in academics, you'll find that they rarely accept what someone else tells them to do. The requirements for developing a Capstone course are intentionally left broad to allow each program and each registered program to establish courses suited for their specific program. For example, the way a Capstone course delivered through an Internet-based program would be obviously different from a classroom-based program. But at the heart of the requirement is a set of learning objectives, and that's what you see up on your screen. Many of our CFP registered programs already have a practicum or Capstone class similar in many ways to this requirement. And we have a number of Capstone courses already registered and available to students. And of course, you can find them on our website, cfpboard.net, become/Capstone, ASP, as you see up on the screen. Our registered program staff has been working with other institutions as they develop these courses. And there are a number of resources available online to help programs assemble a course in advance of the 2011 December deadline that registrations must be submitted by. The course requirement has a significant focus on the 2010 CFP Board Registered Program Conference, which is coming up in the next month. It will continue to be a major focus of this year's conference, and sessions at the conference will include best practices for providing this type of course, both classroom-based as well as Internet-based.
You know, we have a very strong program for this year's registered program conference, and we really hope that all of the registered programs are represented. Richard, we passed a milestone last month when we crossed the 100, the number of universities in the United States where you can earn a baccalaureate degree in financial planning is now at 101. We crossed the 100 mark. I think that's really amazing. So we hope that all the registered programs out there attend. If you have not yet made your reservations, please do so soon. We're able to extend the group rate at the hotel through July 22nd, but won't be able to extend it beyond that date. So visit the CFP website, cfp.net/conference, for details and registration information.
You know, as we're talking about changes to the certification process, I know that CFP Board also recently adopted a new blueprint for the CFP Certification Examination. Is the Capstone course requirement connected to the focus of this new exam?
Short answer, yes, there is a clear connection. Both the requirements of the Capstone course and the development of the updated exam blueprint focus on the integration and application of financial planning knowledge. Taking a Capstone course should be an experience that helps prepare one to take the updated CFP exam. Seems like a natural bridge. The new exam blueprint was created following our 2009 job analysis study, which had a special focus on the tasks CFP professionals undertake as they provide financial planning services to clients. Sounds like we're testing people now on what they really are going to do. In place of the financial planning topic areas that form the blueprint for the past exams, beginning in 2012, the exam will focus on the 8 domains you see here on your screen. The domains address tasks that distinguish the delivery of financial planning services and follow closely the steps of a financial planning process.
Chuck, we've got a question here from our audience relating to the exam, and it says, in the future, will the CFP examination include essay questions or sections like the CFA exam?
Well, again, the short-term plans for the CFP exam do not include introducing essay questions, although that's always a question that examiners have under review. The CFP exam will continue to devote significant sections of questions to case studies that require complex decision-making, but the testing is not by essay questions. The development of the updated exam is a very involved process. Items currently in our bank of test questions have to be reevaluated and mapped to the new blueprint. The new items had to be created to address areas in the new exam blueprint not adequately covered by the previous exam topic list. After we had a sufficient pool of questions, the new exam must be assembled to provide appropriate coverage of the different domains. Then the new exam performance standard must be set after the exam is assembled. While this process has been going on, we have continued to offer the CFP exam under the old blueprint. Assisting our Council on Examinations is a new item writing group with members experienced in the authoring and reviewing of exam items. They have been charged and leading item development activities necessary to prepare for the new exam blueprint. The group is responsible not only for item writing and review, but most importantly, training new item writers and leading upcoming item writing workshops. Much still remains to be done, but we are on target for the March 2012 examination. And it's probably appropriate here to have a special thanks to all of the volunteers that have made this a successful process. This is practitioners working on problems that are important for future practitioners.
Chuck, you're absolutely right. We have some very dedicated volunteers, just as you do, Richard, at FPA. We have volunteers on the council examinations, our item writers group, and we appreciate the contributions that all of the folks have made. I also want to thank the group of volunteers who have agreed to serve on our new work experience working group. This new volunteer group includes representatives from small firms, from large firms. We have some next-generation planners, retirement plan sponsors. We have representatives from the banking and multiple levels, at different levels of experience. And essentially, as we talk about the 4 E's of certification, we're looking again at CFP's work experience standard. The group will review all aspects of work experience and requirements and consider expansion of new job functions, responsibilities, and financial planning business models, and consider any clarification needs for the initial the initial certification determination. Examples of new job functions which will be discussed include software development, regulatory-related work, journalism, and retirement plan sponsors. Clarification of current requirements will include review of teaching requirements and internships. And as we've been doing here at CFP Board, any proposed changes to the experience requirement will go out to our stakeholders for comments before coming to the board.
It's good to know that as the profession evolves, CFP Board continues its work to keep the CFP certification strong and relevant. So, shifting gears a little bit, what updates can you provide on CFP Board's work to ensure that the public recognizes and understands the value of CFP certification?
One of my favorite topics, so I'm pleased that there is a lot to share with you in this area now that the public awareness campaign is well underway. This is CFP Board's first large-scale public awareness campaign involving advertising. It has been exciting to see the CFP certification featured on television through our 30-second advertisement. I know many of you have seen this television ad, but I'd like to take a minute here to play it for everyone today. The video is going to loop through this twice, and it's one of the things I enjoy watching, so I hope you do as much as I
do. Your finances can't manage themselves, but that doesn't mean they won't try. Bring all your finances together with the help of the one person who can, a certified financial planner professional, CFP. Let's make a plan.
We received a lot of positive feedback about this ad. I know I, for one, play it for everyone that comes in anywhere close to where I have access to it. It has been great to hear from CFP professionals as they catch it on television. Our primary objective for the first stage of the campaign is to increase the public's awareness of CFP professionals. Consumer research we reviewed during the development of the campaign helped us select a key positioning statement. The statement is, if you need your whole financial life pulled together, a CFP financial planner professional is uniquely qualified to help. You can see that theme reflected in the message in the television and the other campaign materials, such as what's showing up in the magazines. It is a theme that brings together the messages that most influence prospective clients. And it is a theme unique to CFP professionals. It's our theme. Our research during the campaign's development led us to choose a custom target market that we are calling the mass affluent initiators. This is a subgroup of the mass affluent segment, which is defined by those with $100,000 to $1 million in investable assets. Targeting the $100,000 to $1 million investable asset range made sense based on secondary research, and it aligns with customer and certification expectations. Also, for those of you who might ask the question about, geez, is it just limited to that? I might note that those with assets outside those boundaries are frequently exposed to the same media outlets that are frequented by this mass affluent initiator.
The television ad has been running on a number of national cable channels. The cable news and entertainment networks on which we chose to run the ad were selected based on their ability to deliver the mass affluent initiator mindset that Chuck talked about. We're using channels like the Travel Channel, HGTV, ESPN, and the History Channel, along with key news properties like CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC. The television stations and all other media properties that we're looking at were subject to a multifaceted review. We looked at how well they reached our target market, the relevance of their content, the availability of sponsorships relevant to financial planning and advice, and their scale and cost. While this campaign will be the largest initiative of its type that CFP Board has ever engaged in, when you look at the marketing dollars spent by the financial services industry, the funds we have available are modest. We therefore are very conscious that we have a responsibility to make the most of our resources. As we reviewed the options for all of the media buys, we have worked to negotiate the best possible price and to secure arrangements that provide added value. One of the media channels we're using most frequently is our online properties. You will see banner ads featuring CFP professionals on prominent news and search sites across the internet. Again, we selected the sites based on their relevance to and use by the mass affluent initiator segment. And many of these online properties that include advertising also have an electronic newsletter and interactive tool. We've been working and looking at specific ways these types of vehicles can further reach our campaign message. Now, if you haven't seen the online banner ads, you likely haven't been spending much time online. They are all over the major consumer websites, and we've worked to get some prominent placements. For example, the ads were featured for a time on the welcome page that appears when you visit the Forbes site. Since the campaign launched in April, we've used several different banner ads. Some of these are interactive, like the Drive ad you see in the top right, modeled on our TV advertisement, which allows a user to interact with the steering wheel. All of the ads highlight the value of working with a CFP professional. Clicking the ad will take you to the letsmakeaplan.org microsite, where you'll find resources about financial planning and the CFP certification, including a tool featured on every page that will allow you to look for a local CFP professional. We also recently introduced 3 new online banner styles, which we'll take a moment to preview for you. The first we have is what we've named the scissors ad. And then we have the test ad, and we'll just let this play through. A CFP professional is uniquely qualified to bring all of your finances together. And then that looks like test again. Anyone can call themselves a financial planner, but a CFP professional is uniquely qualified. And then the third new ad is the magnet ad. Don't address your finances individually. And when people are, these are ads with no sound, they can use the magnet to play around with the cursor. Pull all of your finances together with a CFP professional. And this looks like the scissors ad. Is your advisor making your finances work for you or for her? Put your needs first. Work with a CFP professional. And we've been genders. We've not just been. We've been a diversity of genders. So we've used both male and female male pronouns. We've worked with the same designer for all of the banner ads, and they all share the same distinctive graphic style with the new CFP plaque design certification mark. We also have a series of print advertisements running in different consumer finance publications. Our print advertising uses, again, that distinctive graphic style similar to the TV spot. Here are the first 2 print ads that have appeared as part of our campaign. Both ads encourage readers to work with a CFP professional. And a third print advertisement will launch in the middle of September for October publications. The headline for the Jet ad reads, "Something to consider if you have your finances on autopilot. There is no such thing." Richard, as a pilot, I might be interested in your thoughts about having your finances on autopilot.
You know, Kevin, that's interesting because one of the things I always talk to clients about is the fact that not dealing with money issues is a lot like the issues of smoking or other things, where it can seem like for a long time there's no pain until all of a sudden you realize it's too late to fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. All of the public awareness campaign materials direct consumers to our new letsmakeaplan.org microsite, which you see here. It says even if you have your individual areas of your finances under control, it's important to have them pulled together. Its goal is to help consumers down the path of understanding about why you need a plan, how you can start your plan, and how to choose a CFP professional. This microsite includes a CFP professional search function on every page, and the microsite will serve as a key consumer website, and it links to CFP Board's primary site, cfp.net, where consumers can get even more information. We'll also be updating cfp.net down the road.
Kevin, one of our audience members shared a question about the search function. They stated in the previous CFP Board webinar announcing the Let's Make a Plan campaign, the presenters indicated that the search feature on the microsite would be changed from displaying results in alphabetical order to a more random order. This is yet to be done, and the question is, when will this occur? Could you share an update on this as well as when new search functions will be available?
Yes, the short answer is we're working on it, and we expect and testing it actually right now, and that search functionality should be available in August. It won't be just random results, but it will also allow us to allow users to narrow down and target better a CFP professional. As I mentioned, there's a CFP professional search function on every page of the site, and in addition to randomizing results, we continue to add content to the Let's Make a Plan site. That's really where we're going to direct consumers. We're moving all of our consumer information to the Let's Make a Plan site. For CFP professionals, and we get a lot of calls in the office about this, so to make sure that you show up in the search results, you should do three things. You need to go to your profile and, one, indicate what address or addresses you would like to be available through the search. Two, you need to indicate that you're a practitioner. And three, you need to state that you are accepting new clients. So update your information, go to cfp.net/login, and then click on the Update Your Profile link in the upper right-hand corner of the page.
As I look at the questions that are coming in, there's a number of them wondering about the results of what you've seen so far from the campaign. So with the understanding that it's been out in the field for just about 90 days now, what can you share?
We know that effectiveness measurements are crucial for the campaign, and that's something that our board of directors and Chuck and Alan were very, very much interested in, and we are working to capture as much data on effectiveness as we can. With the advertisements leading to the Let's Make a Plan website, we're able to track website usage data. Since its release, the new site has been seeing steady growth in visitors, with a good percentage of those visits, close to 20%, involving the use of a the CFP professional search function. But the overall goal of the campaign is to increase awareness of CFP professionals, and that will be what our primary measure of success is. We conducted a significant amount of consumer research as we set out to develop the campaign. That research provided guidance on the campaign's messaging and design, as well as a baseline for measuring the campaign's effectiveness. During our preliminary research, we found that awareness in a population of consumers who have $100,000 plus in investable assets was around 46%, and that familiarity with CFP certification is low. Only about 11% of consumers within a certain age, income, and investable asset level considered themselves very familiar with CFP professionals. 21% are somewhat familiar, and 14% only knew the name. We want to see increases in each of these areas, as well as in the percentage of people who not only recognize the CFP marks, but who believe working with a CFP professional would be beneficial to them. This research helped us define our target audience and will be important to measuring our success against our defined target audience. We also conducted a new baseline study right before the start of the campaign to give us more robust information on a baseline level of awareness, which is, again, our key metric. This was a pre-advertising benchmark study, and we expanded the number of questions from what we did last fall. Before, we only asked 2 awareness questions, and now we ask several more. For example, the first question that we ask is, again, this is our target audience, and we ask them, now we'd like you to think a bit about professionals who offer personal financial planning services. What certifications or credentials for professional financial planners are you aware of, if any? And then another question asks, please check all of the following credentials for personal financial planners that you're aware of, even if you've already listed it in a previous question. So the first question essentially is what we would call an unaided. In other words, can the consumer say the letters CFP without having seen them? What credentials are you aware of? And then we also ask an aided. In other words, do you know about CFP? So the bottom line is we were encouraged, as you can see. The data provides a big picture view. We will be repeating this expanded study periodically as the campaign continues, and we'll be sharing the results with the board of directors and with you as well. I think if you look at the graph here, CFP certification, looking at both the yellow and golden rod, 19% of our target market knows CFP in an unaided manner, and 75% have awareness when you add the aided amount to it. Comparing that to all others, of course, CPAs, everybody knows the CPA, and a lot of people think of CPA, but the other designations that we typically think of competing in the personal financial planning space are barely negligible. So I think CFPs should be proud that we have a good amount of awareness. The goal and objective of this campaign is to increase that awareness.
That's interesting.
Can I interrupt for just a second? Because when we showed this to the board at the board meeting here today, my first reaction was a highly sophisticated technical response. It was wow. If you look at this, this is what we hope to do, and the purpose of the campaign is to make sure that this is embedded and stays embedded in people's minds. And while we're very early in collecting data on the awareness campaign, this is just, incredibly encouraging for what we're doing.
Thank you, Chuck. Let's take this to the next level. I mean, so some of our people in our audience today, I'm looking at these questions, are asking how they can help out with this campaign. One person asked how CFP professionals might piggyback on the campaign to build awareness of their practice and designation. So I guess the question becomes, is there an opportunity to make this win-win, not only for the profession and the CFP mark, but also for the individual practitioner?
Well, first of all, we hope that all of the CFP professionals will help us extend the reach of this campaign. And we welcome the offers of assistance. The putting up links on your own websites and things like that are certainly examples of that. Our advertising dollars are focused on national outlets, and there is much that people can do to help share the campaign materials within their local environments. Personally, as I said earlier in this webinar, I play the TV ad every place I am for any audience that I get, and even the people that are kind of thinking I'm a little weird about it at least get a smile on their face. But every little bit is part of this recognition that we're after.
But being weird is okay, Chuck.
It better be, otherwise I'm in trouble.
I hope every CFP professional will display their marks proudly. I mean, that's one of the reasons we've got the new mark that we introduced. The plaque was introduced alongside the 3 other marks that you see on, or about to see on the screen. Right now, the guidelines and use for the guidelines are essentially the same as for the flame logo, which you see up here in the lower right. The specific guidelines are available on our online toolkit that we've put together for the campaign. You know, the OnReach toolkit is a very rich resource that all of our certificants can use and help us extend the reach of the campaign. The toolkit includes things such as advertisements that you can customize and use on your own to extend our message. The online banners that we've just seen and the videos you can add to your own website, and that will also enhance the image and getting the word out about certificates. The new advertisements we shared earlier have been added to the toolkit and will be available among all the rest of these materials, and updates as the campaign continues will be constantly added to the toolkit. You can review the toolkit materials at the website cfp.net/toolkit and download the customizable ads and artwork through your online CFP Board account.
So being a financial planner myself, I know the question that's in at least some of our listeners' minds is, are these materials available free of charge, or do you have to pay for them?
You know, the toolkit materials are all available to CFP professionals at no charge. You said you were updating your website. We hope you'll integrate some of the banner ads. We've also been working on making available quality promotional materials for CFP professionals so that they can purchase and display. So we have some golf jackets and some other kinds of promotional materials. We'll be releasing a new premium online store later this summer. It will feature promotional items with the CFP certification marks, allowing you to display the marks proudly. We appreciate everyone who contributed to a poll we conducted regarding the types of materials that you were interested in. Having that feedback has been very helpful to us.
Well, this seems like a good time to turn the program over to questions submitted by our listeners. So while our panel responds to your question, you're going to see some various facts and quotes about the CFP Board that will continue to scroll across on your screen. So the first question we're going to have is, can we post the commercial on our websites, and if so, how?
You absolutely can post it on your website. I think the easiest way is probably through a YouTube, embedded YouTube link, which is very easy to do. And you can just search CFP Let's Make a Plan on Google, and the YouTube video comes up very right near the top.
That's my first choice when I do it randomly to anybody that happens to be walking by.
I think we get that, Chuck.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
All right, so next question. If the total awareness is the baseline pre-campaign, what are the marginal benefits of the campaign? It seems, from this listener's perspective, like the awareness is already pretty good.
Well, right now we're at 19% unaided awareness within our target market, and we're seeking to increase that amount. Some of the other benefits, I think, overall, not just, this is one, and we had this discussion with some of the folks at FPA and NAPFA. This is a campaign to increase also the understanding of the value of financial planning also. So as you look at that ad, you'll see that, yes, the resolve, the answer to the solution is you need a CFP professional, but I think it helps get people thinking about the value of financial planning in their lives.
I think it's important to remember, too, that while this is a kickoff of a big campaign to increase awareness, there are all kinds of things that we have done as far as getting awareness in the media. I think most professionals would look and say, if you look back 5-6 years ago, a financial planner was quoted in the media, and it may or may not have noted with it they were a CFP. The extent of the fact that there's a notification next to their name that they're a CFP, and the frequency with which it is a CFP and how rare it is not, is an indicator that the efforts we've put on outreach and awareness, where we're not paying for it, where it's in the professional media, that has had an impact as well.
And the fact that this is just the beginning of the campaign. If we're already reaching what's going to happen when the campaign reaches its crescendo? How this is going to be really effective for certificants and people who might aspire to become certificants.
Absolutely. So taking the question in a little bit different direction, a listener asked, how can we garner international recognition to be on par with what they believe to be like a CPA or a CFA?
Well, there are a number of things. I think that's a great question. First of all, we participate in the Financial Planning Standards Board, which includes 23 countries around the world that grant CFP certification. In fact, while CFP certification began in the United States, there are now more CFP professionals outside the United States than there are inside.
Not by much, though.
Not by much. We have 62,700 at the end of June of CFP professionals, and there are about another 65 to 68,000 outside the U.S. So we're working closely to foster that greater acceptance around the globe, and I think that's very important for the emergence of the profession of financial planning, the global acceptance of it.
All right. Next question. What actions is the CFP Board doing to address the potential actions by DOL, the Department of Labor, concerning investment advice on 401ks and IRAs, and how do these DOL actions, do they create any conflict with the actions by the SEC?
Well, we have been proactive on all kinds of things like this. We've got a letter out there. We support the fiduciary standard, any opportunity that we get. While we have said we support the standard, the DOL has a number of issues with prohibited transactions. It's been a problem. Further transactions have been a problem from the beginning. There are lots of exceptions to that. This is a problem from 1974 to today. So that needs a lot of work. We made comments on that. We're closely following this. It is interesting, though, that fiduciary standard is now ever broadening. You get into few conversations now where that's not part of it. And, again, I think we consider that a huge success that there's focus on that a minimum standard of fiduciary. Kevin, you might want to put some things on that.
No, having said that, the DOL proposal in some ways has caused some concern, and we're aware of that and working with that. And one of the concerns we have is that some of the folks who are opposed to a fiduciary standard for investment advice are using the DOL proposal as a reason not to continue on and for the FCC to issue and promulgate a fiduciary standard for the delivery of retail investment advice. But we're working very closely on with both the FCC and the Department of Labor on this issue.
Okay. Well, the next question sort of is related. It goes on and asks, are the wirehouses going to be held to the same fiduciary obligations as independent advisors?
Well, as a CFP professional, if the group that we're talking to right now on this webinar, you have a set of standards to adhere to that come from being a holder of the CFP certification out there. That said, we have a bunch of different business models out there. It's going to be interesting to see how that is dealt with. I see a lot of energy, broad-based, to doing that because of the recognition of the value of fiduciary obligation. I think people are building it into their value proposition for their clients very broadly, and maybe it's even reaching to some of those far outreach places that we didn't expect it to permeate.
And only to expand a little bit on Chuck's comment, again, as a CFP professional, if you're providing financial planning or material elements of the financial planning process, CFP Board is going to hold you to a fiduciary standard as we define it. And so I think implicit in that question might be, are there different standards? Yes, there are different regulatory standards. But again, I think as everybody knows in the CFP community, we're holding you to our fiduciary standards.
Well, and as somebody who's been involved in these discussions for a number of years, ever since the economic downturn started in 2008 and we all started working together on this issue, it will be a long-term process. We're not going to get there overnight, but we are staying engaged in a very effective way as a profession.
And I think in fairness, the conversation is going as we would like it to go. Would we like it to go faster? Absolutely. We had hopes to do that. But if you look back, the distance we've come on the recognition, which I think is obvious, particularly to CFP professionals, that how could you hold yourself to less than acting in the best interest of your client? Now everybody talks about it. That didn't happen at the start of this.
That's exactly right. Okay, shifting gears once again, talking a little bit about the changes that are coming in terms of the CFP certification program, a question from our audience, perhaps related to the Capstone course, but more generally, how can CFP certificate programs or CFP Board policy better assist the profession in the future to bridge the gap between what's learned in the CFP programs, slant type of book knowledge, with actual professional productivity and developing a practice?
That's a great question, and I think there are several questions embedded in that. First, let's take the academic question. A profession needs a baseline of academic knowledge, and I think that the history of CFP Board has been to focus on that. As you see us now adding the additional course and adding the focus on the exam to the practice, changing what we're looking at for development of the questions, all of that is moving toward how you implement these skills in the practice, and I think that that's a great step forward. There's always another question that's out there, and we get periodically. I think this questioner was including that, and that is, what do we do about practice standards, and what do we do about things such as actual practice activities? One of the things I think it's important to recognize is that this space that we hold for financial planning has a number of players in it. And Richard, you certainly, as a past leader of one of those spaces, is as a group that is responsible to the practitioner and provides a lot of resources for the practitioner. CFP Board does not do everything in the entire world from A to Z. Sometimes it might seem that we are broadly based, but there are a number of services for practitioners that are available from an organization such as FPA. And this time we have no intent to move C to how to do a practice and that kind of thing. But again, if you go to an FPA convention, there's a lot of information there. Whether we will move to do that in the future, we are responsive to a great number of influences out there, and this is a legitimate topic for our discussion.
I think implicit in the question is that perhaps the exam does not reflect the actual practice that this person sees. I don't know. That was kind of what I took from the question. I think what I would say is that we make every effort to validate that the exam content is consistent with practice when we conduct our job task analysis. So we are out there proactively asking certified financial planners what are the tasks that they do in their practice, and then we use their responses and summarize those responses to make sure that the body of knowledge and the content outline is consistent. Do we cover more than maybe some people cover? That's right, we do. However, we do validate that there is a majority of financial planners practicing the content upon which we're testing.
Well, I can tell you from my own experience, Kevin and Chuck, that being both a CFA as well as a CFP and an EA, that the CFP exam, in my experience, was the most relevant to the actual practice of my profession of any certification exam I've ever taken. And it's been a few years since I've taken it, but I think that's still the intent, and you're trying to move even more in that direction.
Well, Richard, we'll allow you to kind of offline take it again to see whether you're keeping up with. But I think that indicates the intent of what we're doing. We're continually reviewing to make sure that what we're doing is relevant on all scores.
Well, Chuck, that's actually a nice segue into our next question because, and this is something that probably more than one person in our audience has thought about, as a practicing CFP, am I required to take the certification test program before I can renew my license?
I guess maybe the relief answer is no. You are not. Although I think in reality, that's what you're doing when you're practicing. You're retaking a segment of the exam on a regular basis. The other thing is, as we move forward on continuing education things, there certainly will be opportunities for you to do that, and I would expect, although I can't guarantee, that something similar to what is on the exam would show up and give you an opportunity to feel what other people are going for. And it's kind of like any profession that you're in, to kind of go back and recertify, and it is an interesting concept. So as you choose CE credits, the courses you're going to take for it, I assume most people are taking courses in areas where they feel things are moving a little bit faster than they're able to keep up, and it's an opportunity to catch up. So same thing would apply to this.
That makes good sense. Well, as we wind down our time on the Q&A session here, I'd like to share with you more of a comment than a question from one of our listeners, and then I'll turn it over to our team from CFP Board to give us a few final comments. But this one says, for your information, I am an attorney that's an education provider. I recently asked the head of a local financial advisory firm his view of the value of the CFP certification. He stated it was invaluable, especially with the promotional efforts of the CFP Board. The message is getting out, and the value is noticed by those in the industry as well. So with that, I will turn it over to our panelists to give us a few final comments.
Well, Richard, thank you for reading that, because that's always rewarding to hear, and I think the only thing that Kevin and I have as a reaction to that is that gives us an opportunity to do it better tomorrow, kind of thing. So, and that also is a good transition into my final comments. I encourage everyone here to take pride in their CFP certification, and pride in the most positive sense of the term. Display the CFP marks proudly. Look for ways to become engaged with the CFP Public Awareness Campaign. There's a great opportunity to increase public awareness of CFP certification, and that goal is something we can all work together collectively and each in our own individual ways to accomplish. All of us on the board believe that this campaign will have a real impact on public awareness of the CFP certification, and that stands to provide value to all CFP professionals and real benefits for the many Americans who can improve their lives with the assistance of competent, ethical, and professional financial planning. The starting point is awareness. So the public awareness campaign is an important initiative, and we really, as I know I'm obnoxious about it, I'm certainly the most excited about it. The public awareness campaign is an important step for the CFP Board. I also want to thank the CFP professional community for its support of the CFP Board and the high standards of CFP certification. Certainly the quality of this campaign has been enhanced by all of the talking we did to CFP professionals prior to initiating the campaign. You are what the mark represents. I also want to encourage you to get involved in CFP Board's initiatives. We talked earlier about all the work being done by volunteers to update the CFP exam for the new exam blueprint. There is ample opportunity for you to get involved, from serving on task force and working groups, to participating at financial planning day events, to working on exam development activities, to responding to surveys. And I hope those of you who are listening today will consider ways in which you might contribute to the CFP Board's work. Just visit our website at www.cfp.net/volunteers and complete an application. You'll be notified when opportunities arise and are suited to your interests and experience. CFP Board strives to do its best to be interactive with all of the certificants.
And, Chuck, to that end, I want to invite CFP professionals to stay connected with us through various social media outlets. These resources are a good way to keep up with CFP Board's activities, to see what CFP professionals are sharing through the local and national media, and to network with your colleagues. The website addresses for our social media resources are on the screen, and you can visit cfp.net to click through to each of these resources. And look for opportunities to meet with Chuck, Alan, and me and other CFP Board leadership in person, and take a few minutes to share with us what's on your mind. During 2011, Chuck and I have held a number of in-person certificate connection meetings across the country, and we'll be visiting my home state of Ohio in September. We'll be in Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Columbus on September 11th and 12th. So please watch for invitations for a city near you. Richard, I want to say thank you. We enjoyed working with you going clear back to 2008 when the Financial Planning Coalition came about. We enjoy our relationship with our Financial Planning Coalition partners, and we're pleased to have you come join us today.
Well, Kevin, thank you for the invitation, and thank you to all of you who participated in this conversation today. A recording of this presentation will be posted at CFP Board's website in the next week or so, and we will be following up with those who asked questions we didn't have time to address during the broadcast. CFP Board welcomes your comments regarding this program and your suggestions for future programs at webinars@cfpboard.org. Thank you again for your time and attention today.